Hello and welcome to Record Game Exploits, and today I have some very exciting news. But first I'm going to dedicate this video to my friend Bob the Smoker. He knows who he is because, yeah. And because he's going to be incredibly hyped by this. You probably guessed roughly what this is about due to the naming of the video and description and all that jazz. But yeah, I'm not entirely sure what I'm going to call this. I'll just roll this out as quick as possible. So, moving on quickly, Disney, obviously, we know this, have got the rights to the Star Wars films because, yeah, George Lucas decided to pack up his bags, fill them full of money from his action figures, you know, money from action figures and shirts and merchandise and all that, and go back to his big bloody mansion to swim in his cash, which is all good. So, happy for him. But yeah, so, Disney now own the rights, which could be a good thing, could be a bad thing, we're not too sure yet, but they did also do something which was kind of controversial and bad in a way. They downsized LucasArts gaming division. I mean, it's bad. I feel sorry for their families and hope that those ex-employees are all doing well, because talented people, although their latest games, their recent games, to be honest, I think have been very subpar, personal opinion, especially, I mean, what was going through their heads when they made Star Wars Kinect with dancing Han Solo. That was a terrible idea. But with this downsizing brought up a massive debate, and rumours started flying about whether or not Disney was going to outsource the Star Wars games. Now, I know a lot of people have been disappointed because it would appear that Star Wars 1313, which is a third-person game that was due to come out, has been put on hold indefinitely, which is, by the way, if you don't know, a nice way of saying cancelled. So, don't expect to see that come out anytime soon, but this news is awesome. Disney actually have been talking to publishers. Well, I say publishers, a publisher in particular. And it's all came to light now, so drum roll here. Imaginary, because I don't have a drum. I could get a drum, but I can't bother. They've been talking to Electronic Arts. So now, Electronic Arts in general, very intermediate. They're very on just the baseline. They do good games. They're not exceptional, except from on the odd case. Like Dead Space has got a massive following. Battlefield 3 is a huge game. And obviously Mass Effect, but aside from that, their games are very mediocre overall. They have got the rights. They've got the partial rights to make games from now on. Now, the question begs, what developers they plan to use to make such Star Wars games. Now, it has already been confirmed. It all came out in one go. It's brilliant. It's already been confirmed what developers they are planning to use. So, clench your butts, because this is big. DICE, who do Battlefield, obviously, BioWare, who do Dragon Age and Mass Effect, and Visceral Games. Now, I believe Visceral do the Dead Space series, so they're a bit of a wild card here. I'm not entirely sure what they're going to do with it, but I'll talk about that in a minute. Now, with DICE being on the board, this is really exciting for me, and I'm sure a lot of people. They obviously do Battlefield, and obviously that has vehicle play, that has aerial play, that has, it's multiple games in one. It's one massive, huge map, loads of people under battle, which is great, and it's awesome. I think it's awesome. And so this obviously makes a certain game, if you don't know about it, springs to mind. It was called Star Wars Battlefront and Star Wars Battlefront 2. Now, obviously, things are hotting up now because I do have a feeling that Battlefront 3 will be coming from DICE. Now, if you didn't know what Battlefront was, and I'm going to talk about Battlefront 2 here mainly, it was essentially, it was a bit like Battlefield. It was like Star Wars. You could get in vehicles, you could play as any faction, character, class type that you could think of in the Star Wars universe. Like, you could be a rebel trooper, you could be a stormtrooper, you could be a clone guy, you could be a droid. I'll put this, you can even be fucking Wookiees and Ewoks, and they were just standard characters. And on top of everything else, if you've done well in the match, you could actually get a special character. I think it was, I think that they were specific to each map, where you could, if you was on the light side player, say Luke Skywalker or Lando Calrissian or Chewbacca, whoever, And then on like the dark side, you'd have like the Emperor and Darth Vader. And like the Emperor, you could literally shoot fucking lightning into people's faces. Now, I don't care what you got on the game. If you're controlling the character that can chain lightning into like 5 guys' faces in one go, you own the fucking world and you own the map. No one's going to argue with that shit. But yeah, so on top of that though, it also had any vehicle, any turret, anything you could see on the map, you could jump into and take control. So you could go around the walkers, you could have space battles and like land on the other guy's spaceship in your X-Wing and start sabotaging their ship from inside. That's how in-depth this game was. And shockingly, they managed to pull this off on a PlayStation 2 and an Xbox. It's out on PC as well. I believe it's still available on Steam. I looked earlier, it was like £6-7. I was debating on getting it. I still am, because it was an incredible game. I remember playing it back in the day. It was amazing then. It was still, the gameplay would still hold up to a certain extent now. Graphically, not so much, but it's still an incredible game. And if they made a third one, and I think that DICE, if DICE made a third one with the new Frostbite engine that they're planning to use for Battlefield 4, which I've seen what that engine can do so far, that would be incredible. That would probably reignite my love for the series, for the franchise in general, because I fell out with Star Wars around the time Episode 1 came out, as I'm sure many people did. I used to love it as a kid, but and then they fucked about with the old films, didn't they? Adding new CG and all sorts of crap in it. It was just not needed. But that's just me, that's my opinion. Lots of people share that view, but whatever, who cares? This is about game. As for BioWare, now I will say this, I hope that none of these developers do this. I hope that none of them are restricting and chained into the films. Like, you have to do a film that ties into this film. Not a film that ties into... You have to do a game that ties into this film. Fuck up. I really hope they don't do that, because then that restricts their time, their time for development and all sorts. And that would really cock up the games, because every game that's been licensed directly to the film and tied into the release of the film has always been shit, especially when their storylines intersect or something. Like, they've done so many games in the past. I'm not even going to give examples. Like, you know, the way that they do it would be like, oh yeah, you don't see all the story in the game, but it shows some bits that you don't see in the film. So they're not going to ruin the film, and you get like some extra tidbits for playing the game. And then when you watch the film after playing the game, you're the only people that actually know that there's anything there to know, and the information or the events of the game really don't. They start to some total fuck all in the grand scheme of the series, and it's just pointless. And it really winds me up. I hope they get free reign on the story and the gameplay and what it should be, because then they could experiment and actually expand upon the Star Wars universe, which would be brilliant, I think. Because I mean, developers like BioWare have incredibly talented writers, and they could make an incredible game. You could make a sort of Mass Effect type Star Wars sandwich of awesomeness, where you could like pick, oh, I want to be a rebel soldier, or I want to be a trainee Jedi, or I want to be a stormtrooper, or dark side, or whatever. I want to be a bounty hunter. And you go along in your RPG, flying along in your Millennium Falcon type ship, you know, meeting people, collecting extra squad members. Just basically an awesome Mass Effect with Star Wars stuff going on. And I mean, they've already got the biotics in Mass Effect. I mean, obviously I could elaborate on this fact, but like, you know, BioWare could just do it. They've already proved that with Mass Effect. That was like, the combat in that was essentially, what if you had like, you know, force powers in a third-person shooter? That's what Mass Effect gameplay was, aside from the RPG elements. And the fact that the way that you can be bad or good in Mass Effect, but you know, the sum total of it was you still try and save the universe. They could actually, possibly be able to do it so that you could be a light side or a dark side. So you could be like, you know, a Sith or a fucking good guy or an evil bounty hunter or whatever. It would be incredible. It'd take a long time to develop, but it'd be worth it. That's like one of my dream Star Wars games. But anyway, Visceral Games, wild card. Like I said, I believe they've done the Dead Space series, and so that's survival horror. I don't know of any other games that they've done off the top of my head, but judging on what I know of the developer, or believe I know of the developer, I could be massively wrong. If I'm wrong, please correct me. I have no problems with you doing that. Give me a little slap around the wrist and I'll have the information correct next time. I should have researched it, but I didn't. But yeah, if I'm correct and they did do Dead Space, which I believe they did, then obviously survival horror type stuff wouldn't really tie in with the Star Wars universe very well, but they could do something interesting on a storyline along the Sith sort of side, the dark side. They could easily do that and possibly come out of a mature game rather than dumbing down all the violence stuff. They could come out of a really violent, dark, evil, Star Wars storyline to tap into the universe, and that'd be really good because it'd expand on that whole Sith thing. Because we know all about the Jedi and their training and we know all that. As far as dark side, all we know is that they do come, it's your destiny, and lightning to the face. That's all we know. So it'd be really interesting to see a little bit deeper into that. That would be really good, and I think Visceral Games, if I'm correct about them, could pull that off. But yeah, so exciting news. I really hope that they do a Battlefront 3. That would be fucking incredible. That would be a definite buy. As soon as I saw the box art, I wouldn't even question it. Hopefully it'd come out good and not be another Reigns going Marines. But yeah, so that is the end of this episode of Recall Game Exploits. Please like it, commenting, subscribing, and check out the featuring commentings, belowings, not commenting, featured links below in the description. Sorry, me trying to be funny, not really good. But yeah, thanks for watching and goodbye.